Okay, now in the last lesson, we learned everything about trailer drums. Now we're gonna add some signature sounds, screams, alarm benders, alarm calls, delay calls, everything that supplements the trailer production. Let's go. So first of all, I want to have a bram, and I call that bram already here in the contact folder. And I got a favorite bram effect which I can control. Let me check for that. I got many sample libraries here. And the plugin is called from Keep Forest Acer X Classic Trailer Toolkit. And the instrument is the synth menu. Here we go. We got it. How does the bram sound? It sounds like this. And now is the time that we have to choose a key for trailer music, some kind of chord progression. So I simply would choose the key of E for this track. So let's record some brams in E, okay? Yeah, so I like the sound of the bram, but it could be a little bit more dirtier, a little bit more, let's say, distortion on it. Let's check what we could use here. Maybe some decapitator. Let's give it a try. Yeah, the decapitator makes everything a little bit more dirtier. And what I also like is if the highs on the brams are a little bit more kicking out here, like cutting out through the mix. Yeah, so the brams are very effective in trailer music. Some people think it's niche, it's always in trailer music, but why is it always in trailer music? Because it makes a job we need, it makes everything more epic. It's giving something in the lows, it's filling the lows. By the way, we're gonna fill later the lows also with some kind of synths in there. But yeah, brams are really necessary, at least in that kind of trailer genre we do right now, trailer drums, compared, mixed with trailer drums, sound design, etc, etc. So we got one signature sound already in there, it's a bram, okay? So we're gonna add some other signature sounds, let's say clocks, okay? Therefore, let me add the audio channel, let me name that clock. So let me import some clocks, and they are stamped out to 120 BPM because I can simply import everything and it fits directly into the grid. Got some clocks, let me check some. Yeah, so what I got here is a clock which sounds a little bit more natural. And because we got a pre-made trailer arrangement, I can see where I can copy paste it over here. Okay, so let's take a listen how the clocks are sounding in the context. The clocks are simply adding more tension. It's not making so much, but what it's doing, it's just great. It's getting that extra drive, that extra rhythm to the drums. If you play it back once with clocks and without clocks, you're gonna hear the difference. The clocks are adding more drive to the percussion, more drive to everything, and it's just so easy to get it in. It's not even a musical instrument, so if you use sound design in your trailers, you're making a job for a trailer editor much easier. And it's much more syncable at the very end. Okay, so let me copy over the clocks, and we won't use them all the time. Again, I know here is the second half of the final climax, and I just want to bring them in the second half here to add that extra drive and tension. Let me color that for you. Here we go. We got brams, we got clocks. We're getting now a little bit more serious, I think. We are gonna add some kind of probably screams, probably alarm sounds, all those kind of things. Okay, so let's get this done. Let's start with alarm sounds. Again, it's not very musical, but it's adding that extra tension as the talks did in terms of trailers. Okay, so let's try some out. Let's call that channel alarm sounds. And let's check what kind of alarm sounds they got. And we're gonna pick one which we really like. Yeah, I like the last one more. Okay, that's enough already. And I simply go to render in place, and it's printing out the MIDI file into audio for me. Let's do that. And now I can check the wave file a little bit more. Let's call it alarm again as a wave file. And it's not coming perfectly in time. You can see that. Let me move that wave file a little bit forward, just a little bit. Let's check if that sounds now in time. We could do the same with a contact file or something, but I simply prefer it in wave, okay? What I do now is I mute that in and out. Okay, so we got our signature sound here. And I probably have to duplicate it so I can control it a little bit more, because I guess I'm gonna alter them later differently. Okay, so they won't sound all the same at the very ending. They're all gonna be a little bit different to each other, at least later to the final arrangement. But I would say let's just create the basic alarm sound and maybe alter that a little bit with reverb and EQ and stuff like that. Still a little bit too loud. Let's turn it down -4 dB, both. And you probably hear it now that here was really something missing. We had the alarm before, but it wasn't here. And I want to have the second alarm differently to the first one. So I'm simply gonna cut down the EQ, the high EQ a little bit, so it sounds differently to them. And maybe gonna give a little bit more mix on the reverb, okay? So we have more different things going on in the mix simply. And as you can see, as before, we simply can copy paste now over the alarms. They're coming at the same time the brams are coming. So they are supplementing each other. We have the alarm high. We have the alarm low, which has a little bit less of the high EQ here. So again, the bram is starting here. We know now exactly we can bring it at the same time, because if we don't bring it at the same time, that's the feeling of something missing. So the more we go to the final climax, the more we have to fill. But that's a thin gap, okay? We cannot fill too much, we cannot fill too less. So we really have to get a feeling for what's good and what's not. And we try to achieve that right now, okay? Let's take a listen to how it sounds. And I'm gonna copy paste over on the fly here then alarm sounds. So we get the feeling that in this area is more tension, battle, fight with the final boss going on. You can hear the treble drums, you can hear the clock, but it's more effective if we add here a trailer hit, then we add the downer. You remember the thing boom it's doing, okay? And probably we're gonna add a small lift here, and I'm gonna cut it in. I'm gonna take out the part of the riser here in orange and gonna paste in the ending line of the louder, bigger riser, okay? Something like that it looks there. And now let's take a listen how that sounds when we accentuate that part with the triple drums, but take everything else out, put a hit on top, a downer, and a riser out of that section. Much better because we use here psychology. We say, okay, we take something out in the same time, we triple drums and get faster. The riser in the background is saying, hey, it's something lifting up, so everything at the same time is going on. And actually, this would be another added point where a trailer cutter can perfectly cut to the picture to it, okay? We are getting again more busier here at this part, so I want to have the alarm sounds playing twice. So we're getting at that part, we are going out of the middle section again, a little bit more busier. I'm going to show you now another trick. We are going to the final climax. There's the gap. The gap sounds the same as the gap before. Silence, ring out of noise. But we're going to make it now a little bit different, okay? As you can see, I'm going to copy paste now the riser over here and make it shorter, but you can see it's very loud. It's the ending part of the riser here, okay? Let me make that part a little bit bigger. I'm going to cut it now to 16 triple notes and mute every second note. Or 8 triple notes is actually fine already. So we're going to cut it now in. And that's also the advantage if you are playing with WAV files. You couldn't do that with a MIDI file. If I did it the right way, it's going to sound now like a stutter effect, lifting up to the next section. Okay, let's try that. Let me count it. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Here at bar number 32, it's okay if it comes in here. It's a little bit too early. And again, I want to accentuate that part with the trailer hit. So it's saying whoosh bang, there's coming something. And we have to make those riser stutters a little bit louder so they are more effective. They are not loud enough. They have to cut later through the mix. And you probably remember what we did before. We took out some effects when the drums tripled, okay? We don't have anything here to take out when the treble drums are coming in, but we can accentuate it with another hit, which is saying, okay, there are triple drums coming in. And we probably could also layer that with our stutter SFX. Let's take a listen how that sounds. I don't like the riser effect here so much. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna unmute the other risers, okay? Gonna paste them together again as a wave file. I'm gonna recut them to probably straight 8 notes. Maybe that's better fitting than the tripled here. Let's check how it sounds. Now mute them. This works pretty good. I like the effect. So the stutter riser is different to the first stutter riser, which was tripled 8 notes. We got now a stutter riser, which is straight 8 notes. Okay, so let's go on. We have some alarm sounds going on. And as you can see, we have still some kind of different areas here to work with. Intro, middle part, final climax. From the start, there are coming the signature sounds, the brams, the alarm sounds. And now for the final climax, remember again, it has to lift up. So what do we need? Something else. And let's look together maybe for some kind of benders. Benders are alarm sounds which are bending up or down, okay? Let's take a look. So now I'm gonna go again to keep forward devastator breakout and look for the bender section, which is here. And I don't want to have a bram bender because we have brams in there. We want to have maybe a signature bender. Let's check. This one I like a lot. I can hear already that's a little bit too heavy from the start. There's too much lows in there. So let me get the lows out. It's the channel number 4, which I'm gonna take down now a little bit. Take out a little bit of the lows here. So we mix again on the fly and maybe push a little bit the high EQ area. Let's take a listen how that sounds. That's much better because it's not so heavy on the lows. We don't need the lows here. We have brams already and low toms, so we don't want to have too much lows here. It should be anywhere in the EQ spectrum between the brams, the alarm sounds, and the trailer toms. Let's take a listen. And we're just gonna add them to the final climax because there has to come something new now for the final boss fight, okay? Okay, that was right now much too much of that sound. I simply loved it, so I played it so many times. What I'm gonna do now is I just bring it here and there, especially in the gaps where the silence is, because that's a perfect part for such a kind of signature to have a different kind of sound from gap to gap and maybe in between the sections here, okay? So what I'm gonna do right now is I cut it out and check where it probably fits, okay? Oh, let me quantize that very fast for you. So it's 8 notes all, so we can quantize that. And I'm gonna cut each of them now out and gonna mute most of them because it was simply a little bit too much. You know, it's pretty fast overdone and people are overused to that. So I mostly just want to have it played in empty gaps where silence is to have that waving effect and maybe somewhere in between. Okay, let's take a listen. That sounds pretty good. I minimalized now that wave sound to what we really need at that point. Okay. And at the very ending, at this section, we got alarm sound going on at the gap. So we don't need to scram, but afterwards with the damage hit here is coming to scream. So we have again some variation in between. Sometimes you can take it out, something, you know, you're gonna focus on something else, then you bring something in again, gonna focus on another sound. Perfect. Mixing wise, I'm gonna show you now something, because when I was listening back to the track right now, and I did some small moves on loudness changes because I had the feeling it was too loud. Everything is playing right now in the middle, and that sooner or later gonna add some problems to our mix. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna render in place again that scream, because I wanna have it in audio. Where's it? Render in place. Here we go. And because everything is in the middle, I'm gonna pan now a little bit first alarm sounds, like 25% to the left, and the Raven sound 25% to the right side, so they're playing perfectly with each other, not both in the middle overlapping each other. One is playing a little bit on the left, one is playing a little bit on the right side, so this gives a nice stereo image and less problems later on the mix. So let me take out those empty files. Let's get it in. Let's call it Raven sound. Okay, so the first alarm sound, this one, we're gonna pan 25% to the left. So it's not playing in the middle. And the Raven sound, we're gonna pan 25% to the right side. So we're mixing already a little bit on the fly, and check how that sounds. That should be perfect. Let me mark that Raven sound like totally red. Okay, so we just play back now maybe the first half of the track with the alarm sound 25% to the left and the Raven sound 25% to the right side. Yeah, so the more you move the sound to the left or to the right, the volume is not anymore so effective. So I moved the Raven sound 50% to the right side because I didn't hear the difference when it was 25% there. We have to make it a little bit louder so it appears a little bit louder on the right speaker here. Okay, something like -2 and maybe a little bit less reverb. If you minimalize the reverb on an instrument, it makes the sound more audible, more clearer. Okay, at the moment it's too washy. Let's check how this sounds. Yeah, so the Raven sound is now almost 60% to the right side, so it's more audible by itself, as the first alarm sound is now on the left side, so they're both playing with each other again in that stereo speed and not in the middle, because there should be a lot of place for the drums and some other things we're gonna add later. So we did already some small mixing moves, okay? I think we added now enough of those signature sound, so we are good for that.